So I want you to take a second and just imagine your most uncoordinated, clumsy friend. You know the one.
Oh, absolutely. We all have that one friend.
Right. The person who, like, trips over totally flat surfaces. The one who jokingly describes their own physical movements as experimental.
That is a highly accurate description, yeah.
Yeah. So keep that image in your head.
Mm.
Now, imagine taking that friend, putting them in a very tight sequined outfit, and just pushing them onto a brightly lit gala stage to perform a fully choreographed dance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in front of hundreds of expectant people.
I mean, for a lot of people, that is the literal anxiety dream you wake up from in a cold sweat.
It really is. But, for Ivan Dobrić, it's actually a deliberate, highly strategic choice.
Right.
So Ivan is a Sydney-based Salesforce solution engineer. He is a guy who literally makes his living optimizing systems, understanding data, working in tech.
A very analytical, behind-the-keyboard kind of life.
Exactly. And he is officially trading his keyboard for Sequence. On June 26th, 2026, he's participating in the Cancer Council's Stars of the North Gala.
Which means he is putting a very specific type of vulnerability on display to raise money for a cause that clearly means a great deal to him.
Yeah, and that is exactly the mission of our deep dive today. We are going to explore how a self-professed tech geek is running this highly effective $5,000 fundraising campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing it not by trying to be a polished, perfect dancer, but by leveraging radical vulnerability, some really clever behavioral psychology, and his corporate network. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, let's do it. Because to understand how Ivan is actually moving the needle, I mean, he's currently hovering around the $2,000 mark right now. We first need to look at the digital landscape we are all navigating.
Which is just a mess of content.
Totally. We are in this era of endless scrolling. Digital fatigue is a very real, documented phenomenon. Getting someone to simply stop scrolling, let alone actually read a post, and then the hardest part, open their wallet for a charity, is a monumental task.
Because you're competing with, every algorithm is specifically designed to keep people distracted.
Exactly. So Ivan's approach to cutting through that noise is to just lean entirely into self-deprecation.
Which is so relatable.
It is. In his campaign materials, he notes that while the saying goes, motion is lotion, his coordination on a dance floor is just a complete disaster.
She actually says no software update can fix it, right?
Yeah, exactly. He fully embraces the clumsy tech guy persona. But here's where it gets really interesting. It's his social media strategy. Have you seen the trilingual Facebook update thing he does?
Yes. And at first I was so confused by it.
Which is the point. It is a textbook psychological tactic, and he executes it perfectly.
So for you listening, he writes his post in 3 languages. He starts the post in Serbian, using the Cyrillic alphabet.
Right.
Then he transitions to Danish, which is
Yeah.
like a nod to his past work in Denmark's nonprofit sector. And then finally, at the bottom, he drops down to English.
The underlying mechanism of that choice is really what matters here. Ivan actually refers to the Cyrillic text at the top of his post as a pattern interrupt.
A pattern interrupt.
Yeah. In behavioral psychology, a pattern interrupt is exactly what it sounds like. It's an action that unexpectedly alters a person's automated routine.
Oh, interesting.
So when you're mindlessly scrolling through your feed, your brain is like scanning for familiar shapes, typical images, English words.
Just on autopilot.
Exactly. And suddenly, boom, you hit a block of Cyrillic text. Your brain actually stumbles. The automated routine is broken.
It forces you to literally stop and wonder, did my app glitch? Or what language am I even looking at?
Right? It buys him that crucial 3 seconds of attention.
It's like he's A/B testing his own dignity on social media. Figuring out exactly how much confusion or self-deprecating humor yields the highest engagement rate.
Yeah, he's optimizing it.
But I do have a fundamental question about this.
Sure.
Does relying so heavily on the clumsy tech guy joke and, playing these algorithmic games with the Cyrillic text, does that risk minimizing the seriousness of the charity? Is he treating a cancer fundraiser too much like a quirky tech startup launch?
Well, if the humor was the entirety of the message, then yes, I think it would definitely risk trivializing the effort.
Right.
But the humor and the visual confusion, the pattern interrupt, that's strictly the top of the funnel hook.
Just to get him in the door.
Exactly. In marketing terms, the top of the funnel is just about awareness. It's designed solely to capture your attention. Because the moment you actually stop and scroll down to that English translation, the tone pivots entirely.
It really does. It drops the comedy completely and hits the reader with absolute seriousness.
Yeah, the humor buys him the time to explain his why.
And his why carries a ton of weight. Growing up in Serbia, Ivan saw the impact of cancer firsthand. He lost both of his grandfathers to the disease, and he also lost a young university friend.
Which is so tragic. And that last point about his friend, I think it shatters the illusion we often carry that cancer is strictly an illness of old age,
Yeah, absolutely.
Losing a peer during your university years, that alters a person's entire perspective on mortality. He is dedicating every step he takes on that gala stage to their memory.
There is a second motivation driving him, though.
Yeah.
And it kind of shifts the narrative from grief to personal identity.
Right, the visibility aspect.
Yeah. For a long time, Ivan was hiding in the shadows before coming out as a gay man. He describes this really difficult journey of not being able to live authentically.
Which takes a huge toll.
It does. And he is using this public gala as a celebration of his visibility. He specifically calls it a choice to be aggressively visible.
Aggressively visible. I love that phrasing.
Me too.
What's fascinating here is how the physical act mirrors the emotional journey. I mean, for someone who felt they had to hide their identity for years, stepping onto a brightly lit stage in sequins is the literal antithesis of hiding.
Oh, completely.
He is taking the internal emotional hurdle of coming out and reflecting it in this external physical act of just taking the spotlight.
Just think about the mental load of that for a second. You are mixing deep, unresolved grief for your family and your young friend with the terrifying vulnerability of a public dance performance.
Yeah, it's a lot.
All while celebrating this hard-won personal identity. And Ivan doesn't shy away from the friction this causes. He uses a tactic that his notes actually call the vulnerable pivot.
The vulnerable pivot. How does he define that?
Well, instead of posting like glossy filtered rehearsal photos of him looking great, he shares the raw physical exhaustion. He talks openly about the imposter syndrome of being a software guy failing to learn choreography.
Oh, I see.
And then he connects his own temporary physical struggle in the dance studio to the involuntary strength that's required by cancer patients every single day.
That is so powerful. He is building a bridge of empathy right there. The message basically becomes, I am struggling with this voluntary challenge, but it is absolutely nothing compared to the involuntary challenge faced by those fighting this disease.
Which brings us to the actual mechanics of the charity itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because vulnerability earns the attention and empathy earns the trust, but what does the money actually do?
Right, the tangible impact.
Exactly. Ivan is very clear that people are not just donating to some vague, abstract fight against cancer.
Because that phrase is everywhere, but it can feel so amorphous, Like, what does that actually mean?
Exactly. The broader context of what the Cancer Council is dealing with really helps explain why that specificity is so needed.
Well, just look at the numbers. 1 in 2 Australians will be diagnosed with cancer by the age of 85.
1 in 2. That's staggering.
It is. In New South Wales alone, there are over 56,000 new cases expected just this year.
Wow.
And on top of that, the Cancer Council is an independent charity. They are roughly 96 to 98% community funded.
So they're essentially crowdsourcing a health safety net for the entire country.
Basically, yes.
So what exactly is Ivan's fundraising buying for the community? Instead of just throwing out, oh, it goes to research, he actually maps specific dollar amounts to tangible outcomes.
Which is brilliant marketing.
Let's look closely at 2 of these metrics because I think they completely change the psychological dynamic of donating. A $43 donation pays for a specialist oncology nurse on their 13-11-20 support line for 1 hour.
Think about the actual reality of that. Someone might be sitting at their kitchen table totally overwhelmed by a brand new diagnosis, entirely unsure of what their next medical step should even be.
Just in a state of shock.
Exactly. $43 funds the expert on the other end of the phone who can calmly guide them through that moment of panic.
Or, here's another one, $155. That provides transport and a night's stay at a Cancer Council lodge for a patient who has to travel from a regional area to the city just to get vital treatment.
Ambiguity is the enemy of action in the nonprofit sector.
Oh, say that again? Ambiguity is the enemy of action.
It really is. When people feel like their money is just a drop in a bottomless ocean, they hesitate. They wonder, how much is going to administrative overhead versus the actual cause?
Right, we've all thought that.
But by tying exactly $43 to exactly 1 hour of an oncology nurse's time, it bypasses that hesitation completely. It empowers the donor. You aren't just tossing money into a void, you are literally hiring that nurse for an hour.
It's like looking at an itemized receipt for saving the world. It takes this terrifying, massive, complex disease and makes it feel solvable in $43 increments.
Exactly. It gives the donor a feeling of direct agency over a problem that usually just makes people feel totally helpless.
Yeah. But, establishing trust is only half the battle. Collecting the funds is the other half.
Oh, for sure. Every campaign eventually hits what we call the mid-campaign plateau.
The dreaded plateau.
Yeah. The initial excitement fades, the easy donations from close family and friends have already been collected, but the finish line is still really far away.
And that's exactly where Ivan sits right now. He has a $5,000 goal, and he's hovering around that $2,000 mark. So how does a tech guy bridge that gap?
Well, he essentially treats his fundraising like a corporate sales pipeline.
Of course he does. He's in tech.
Right. And for those unfamiliar with the term, a sales pipeline is just the visual representation of where prospects are in the purchasing process. You have leads at the top, you nurture them, and you hopefully close the deal at the bottom.
Makes sense.
Ivan is applying that exact methodology to his professional network, leveraging what is known within Salesforce as the Ohana effect.
Ohana, meaning family and Hawaiian culture, which I know is a core tenet of the corporate culture at Salesforce.
Right.
So Ivan is really activating that specific network. Before we get into the creative stuff he does, let's talk about his primary lever, which is corporate gift matching.
This is such an underutilized tool in corporate environments. Many large companies offer to double an employee's charitable impact at absolutely no extra cost to the employee.
I always thought of corporate matching as just like an administrative task. You send an email to HR with a receipt and they cut a check. Is it really a psychological tool?
Oh, it changes the entire dynamic of the ask. When Ivan reminds a coworker that their $50 donation will magically turn into $100 for the Cancer Council via the corporate match, it makes the donor feel savvy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they feel like they're getting a 2-for-1 deal on their altruism. The perceived value of their contribution doubles, while their personal cost remains exactly the same. It is a highly effective conversion tactic for people who are kind of stuck in that middle stage of the pipeline.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
But he doesn't just rely on forms and HR policies to break through the plateau. He designed some culturally infused strategies that are just fantastic.
Oh, they are so creative.
First, he created the Balkan Bake-Off. Instead of just passing a collection bucket around the office, he brings in authentic Serbian pastries. Things like kifles, which are these amazing crescent rolls, or jabonica, a traditional cheese pie. He brings them to the Salesforce office in exchange for donations.
Notice how he is layering his themes here. He is bringing a piece of his heritage, the very heritage that connects him to the grandfathers he is dancing for, into the modern corporate space to drive the campaign forward.
It's so smart. Then he has another strategy he calls auctioning professional skills.
Which is very practical.
He offers a 1-hour Salesforce consultation or like a workflow optimization session for a donation. He literally takes the skill set he uses for his day job and monetizes it for the charity.
It's brilliant.
But my absolute favorite, without a doubt, is gamify your suffering.
Oh, this one brings the self-deprecation totally full circle.
It really does.
Yeah.
So colleagues can buy a song for a $20 donation. And if they buy the song, Ivan is forced to record a 10-second video of himself attempting to dance to whatever track they chose, regardless of the tempo or genre.
Which is just hilarious. What we are looking at here is a perfect synthesis. He is merging personal heritage through the baking, professional skills through the tech consulting, and the campaign's core hook of bad dancing into these interactive fundraising tools.
Yeah, he turns a static donation webpage into a living, breathing community project.
Exactly.
I do have to play devil's advocate for a second, though.
Go for it.
Is there a risk of exhausting his professional network? I mean, we've all worked with someone who is constantly asking for sponsorships for a fun run or a charity bike ride. How many times can you ask your cubicle mate for money before they start actively avoiding you in the break room?
Look, donor fatigue is a real risk, especially within a confined corporate setting like an office.
Yeah.
But the reason Ivan's strategy bypasses that fatigue entirely is value creation.
Value creation.
Yeah, he shifts the dynamic away from just asking for a favor. When you offer homemade kifles or an hour of high-level tech consulting or even just the simple comedic relief of a terribly coordinated 10-second dance video, it becomes an equitable exchange.
Ah, I see.
You aren't avoiding the guy with the collection bucket. You are actively seeking out the guy who brought the amazing cheese pie, and you are more than happy to compensate him for it.
That is a crucial distinction. So what does this all mean when we look at the big picture? Ivan Dobric's campaign is really a blueprint.
It absolutely is.
He combines unapologetic vulnerability,
Hmm.
sharing his grief and his journey of visibility with this really clever psychological marketing like that Cyrillic pattern interrupt we talked about. And then he backs all of that up by strategically leveraging his corporate ecosystem.
It proves that effective fundraising requires so much more than just a good cause. It requires compelling storytelling, granular specificity about the outcomes, like the $43 for the nurse, and utilizing every single tool in your unique toolbox to give people a reason to participate.
Which leaves me with a final provocative thought for you, the listener. We spend a lot of time and energy maintaining this strict firewall between our professional self and our personal self.
We really do.
We keep our quirky traits, our heritage, our personal struggles completely separate from our corporate skills and our networks. But looking at Ivan's campaign, you kind of have to wonder what we lose as a society by enforcing that boundary.
That's a great point.
If you tore down that firewall and combined your greatest professional skill with your deepest personal passion and applied it directly to your network, what kind of massive positive impact could you engineer in your own corner of the world?
We all possess a totally unique combination of tools and communities. The only real question is whether we are willing to use them all simultaneously.
Exactly. Sometimes making a real difference requires stepping completely out of your comfort zone. Take a page out of Ivan's book. Step out of the shadows, put on the metaphorical sequence, and don't be afraid to make a glittery, uncoordinated spectacle of yourself. It might be exactly what the world needs.